We're back with part 2 of our ARRMA Senton 4x4 video series, and this time we're talking features. Hey everybody, thanks for checking in on part number 2 of our video series on the ARRMA Senton 4x4. I'm really excited to check out the features along with you. And if you missed our unboxing video, make sure you check that out after this one's done. There's probably some more information in there that'll help you out pertaining to this vehicle. But for those of you that just want to see all the features right up front, let me go over a couple of things that we talked about in the previous video, what this vehicle comes with. This is a 1/10 scale electric, ready-to-run, four-wheel drive, short course truck. And here are some of the things that it does come with. Once you do unbox it, it does come with the Tactic TTX 300 radio system. I love this little radio system. It's in a number of vehicles that I do run. It's got a comfortable grip to it. It's got a foam wheel. It has the basic trims that you're going to need. Steering trim, throttle trim, dual rate, steering reversing, throttle reversing. Here's the on-off switch back here. And then it runs on 4 AA batteries. But it works really well for a entry-level system. And then this vehicle also comes with a basic wall charger. It does get you going. It charges the batteries. If you don't have anything else, it'll get you going. But you might want to consider getting a fast charger because this one's got to take a few hours to charge the battery. Okay, and now that you get this little bag of parts in here, and you're going to need this stuff. There's some basic L-shaped Allen wrenches in here for maintenance. We've got this tool right here that is very useful. This is the slipper clutch adjustment tool. It also does wheel nuts, and it does something else. I'm not sure what it is, but it also comes with some shock preload clips and then a couple jumpers for the speed controller. And then we have the manual here. Of course, when you open your box of your kit, make sure you read this. It's got important information in there. Now, let's check out the vehicle. The vehicle, again, really cool body. I like the look of this body much more in person than I do online. I mentioned that in the first video that we did on this truck. Graphics are really cool. The shape is really cool. In person, this thing just pops a whole lot more. What's also really cool, comes with these little tethers to hold the body clips. So when you're in the field swapping out the battery, you put your body clips down, like with another vehicle, you probably lose them in the grass. With this, it's all tethered to the body, and you're not going to lose them. All right, now when you pop the body off, another little neat detail to talk to you guys about. It says, don't just bash, blast. There's these little decals inside the body that basically prevent any wear from where the chassis or maybe the wheels scuff up against the body. So here in the wheel wells where the wheels would hit the body, it's got these stickers here so the paint doesn't get rubbed off. Really neat little detail that ARRMA does on their new vehicles. All right, now we can get to the chassis and all the details that you guys want to know about. So let's start off right up at the front and work our way back. As I mentioned in the first video, I'm probably going to keep referencing that first video, but we have the front bumper here. It is a compression front bumper. It's got this little shock absorber back here, so it takes some hits. There's a little hinge right here, so this is pretty flexible here once you do bash into something. And I know a lot of you are bashers that are looking at this and you want to make sure this thing's going to take some hard hits. And it does look like it has the design that it's going to take some abuse. Down here on the bottom, it's got this nice skid type bumper, so it should help guide you up and over some obstacles, maybe some rocks on the ground or whatever gets in your way, mounds of dirt. Now moving back, what's really neat about this particular vehicle is a lot of the parts that we would see, let's say elsewhere on other vehicles that are all separate. This is more of an integrated type of setup here where the shock tower, this front shock tower here is integrated into the bulkhead, which is also the gear case here. So it's all parts that are in one. So it just makes this cleaner setup here. So back to the shock tower, integrated front shock tower. As you can see, it kind of hovers over the shocks here. Just one mounting position. This isn't a racing machine. This is a machine just to go have fun with. And it supports these oil-filled coilover shocks right here. Now these shocks are very cool shocks, and this is why. Okay, these shocks have this spring where it's loaded from the top of the shock. On so many other vehicles, the spring loads onto the shock from the bottom, and then this perch slides on to hold the shock in place. Well, when you take a hit, that shock perch will shoot out, and then it's gone. And then what happens is your spring drops down, and it causes some erratic handling because the spring isn't in the position it needs to be. So now that it loads from the top, there's no way for that spring to get dislodged. There's no perch to lose or anything like that. And just a really neat setup. I don't know why someone didn't think of that sooner. But what is also pretty neat, it comes with these little dust shields on the front of the lower shock perch, and that just helps keep dust and debris away from the shock shaft, so there's less wear and tear on your shocks. As you can see, there's those preload clips on the shock, and that helps adjust the ride height of the vehicle. Now moving a little bit farther back, still sticking in the center here, again, everything is incorporated. It's got this upper bulkhead area that is also the gear case, so the differential is sitting inside. Now going a little bit farther down, we have an aluminum front hinge pin brace, and that just prevents the hinge pins from pulling apart in a crash. So it'll keep everything together in the front, and the arm will absorb the majority of the impact. And what's really nice is these arms are flexible on this. You're going to want more of a flexible arm on a basher. Again, it just takes that hit. It takes the abuse. It flexes rather than breaks. Is it going to cause handling problems? No. It seems sturdy enough that it's not going to cause any handling problems for those of you high-end bashers that race your machines against your friends and stuff like that. It does feel solid enough that it's going to react really well. And then on the outside here, we have these really beefy, unique-looking C-hub carriers that carry the steering knuckle. And all of the links on here are fixed links. And when they go to the outside of, let's say, the hub or the steering knuckle, even in the inside here on the bulkhead and even the steering cranks, which we'll get to in a minute, it's all captured on both sides, so the tie rod can't pop off in either direction. Now moving back, it looks like we have an adjustable body mount here, and what's pretty neat is there's these little ARRMA logos all over the place. It just kind of gives you a little extra detail, and it kind of shows that ARRMA is really paying attention to the look of this machine and with the branding of it. And it's just neat little features like that make this thing stand out from others. And moving back, we have a dual crank steering system in here. Looks very heavy duty. Now again, it captures those steering links, so you don't have to worry about anything popping off, and it goes back to this heavy duty high torque steering servo right here, and there is a servo saver mounted to the servo, so that does take a bit of abuse when you're bashing into things. And since I'm talking about the servo, let me just go on to the other electronics here. So right here we have the brushed motor speed controller. And it does do lithium polymer batteries as well as nickel metal batteries. And it is set up from the factory in nickel metal hydride mode, so just be aware of that. If you do swap your battery later on for a lithium polymer, you have to move the little jumper on this. It's a very important step. But anyway, it's set up right now for that 8.4 volt 7-cell battery that does come with the vehicle. And this does have high power T connectors. Really cool to see on there. No more Tamiya plugs. And then this is a waterproof system here as well. So even down to the switch has a little rubber boot on there to help prevent water from getting in. And then we have a 12-turn ARRMA closed can motor here. These motors are great. You know, they pump out some pretty good power for a stock vehicle, and the maintenance isn't too crazy on them. You know, just make sure you keep it clean if you get it muddy or anything like that. But it's a very cool setup. And this is actually right here. This is a power module. I'm going to show you later on how to take this module out in case you need to do any maintenance. But it's pretty neat how this whole car was designed. There are modules to it. We're going to get into that in a little bit. I'm going to show you how easy it is to take that stuff out. But let me get back to all the details here. So let's talk about some chassis stuff. We've got these big dirt shields right here. So on all four corners, we have these Deep Boots Fortress tires. And these are some pretty gnarly lug tires here. They're definitely going to churn up the terrain on there. And they're mounted to these really cool short course style offset wheels. But when you turn and you power your vehicle, obviously all the dirt and debris is going to come flying off this wheel. And these guards help protect the chassis from basically getting loaded up with dirt and grime and stuff like that. So really neat to see all mud guards on here. And then the chassis itself, again, really rigid chassis. I mentioned that in the first video that we did of the first series. Really rigid composite chassis. It's got a number of like little bracing areas inside to keep everything nice and rigid. And now over to the battery pack. As you can see, it's got these Velcro straps here that secure the battery. And there is a lot of space within that battery tunnel to use other types of batteries. Okay, now in the center, you can see this center drive shaft, and watch this. I'm going to pull this out just to talk about some other stuff. How cool is that? This is a spring-loaded center drive shaft, a telescoping drive shaft. And again, there's that spine. There's a spine in the center to help keep everything nice and rigid. And we're going to talk about some more stuff that has to do with this drive shaft in just a second, but I want to go over some more details first. So inside here we do have a slipper clutch assembly. There's 48 pitch gears in here. We're going to take a closer look at that in a second. I keep saying that. But let me move on to the back really quick. Talk about the rest of the features of this vehicle. Again, we've got adjustable body mounts. We've got this one-piece shock tower, bulkhead, upper gear case cover that comes off really easily. Then in the back, again, flexible suspension arms, but not too flexible, just right in my book. And then on the outside, really beefy hub carriers with these little dirt shields on them that protect the universals from dirt and debris that's flying up. So just, again, so many little details that ARRMA thought of on this this basher type of vehicle. And it's a really well-priced vehicle, too. So I'm surprised at all the cool goodies on this machine. Again, we've got oil-filled coilover shocks with top-load springs, just like the front, fixed link camber rods, and then we have telescoping drive shafts. And even the drive shafts look really beefy. The cross pins on the universal look very built up, and then even the outdrive yoke on there looks very durable as well. Very beefy setup going on there, so I don't see any twists. I think you could go and bump up the power easily on this vehicle later on down the road, and this drivetrain can still take that power you add to it. Now inside, the differentials are a larger differential. Inside the differential is a planetary gear diff. So it's got metal gears in there. It's a grease-filled gear diff, but that outer ring gear, much larger to take more power. So you can grow into this vehicle and beef it up later on down the road, make it faster if you want to do that. All right, so now let me talk to you about the modular parts of this vehicle. Pretty neat stuff going on here. And the first part that I want to show you is removing the slipper and motor module here. And it's really simple to do. What I'm going to do first, got to pull the battery out. And then I got to grab my tools. Hold on a second. Okay, so I have my power driver here. I'm going to show you how easy it is to pull out this assembly so you could get to your gears in case you need to swap out a gear, maybe change your pinion gear, maybe take your motor out for maintenance. Watch how easy this is. Basically going to take this 2.5 millimeter hex driver, and I'm going to remove this one screw right on the bottom of the chassis. One screw gone. All right. Now I'm going to take that sliding center drive shaft, pull it out, simply compressing it, put that aside. Now it's got this little red brace right here. This slides out that way. And now there's this little tab you pull up and you push forward. And look at that. The whole module pops right out and you can access this for whatever you need to do with it. While I have it out, why don't I show you what's inside of here? It's only 3 screws to take the front cover off. Now I can access the slipper or the motor if I need to. It's just this cover, and there's everything right in there. And as you can see, it's got these aluminum out drives on the slipper clutch. So nice and heavy duty there, should be able to handle the power. 48 pitch spur gear. And over here, this is what I also noticed. It has holes that are preset for different pinion gears. So basically, you put your different pinion on there, and let's say it's an 11-tooth pinion. Well, you select the 11-tooth pinion holes, you put your motor screws in there, you tighten your motor down, and you have basically a perfect gear mesh every time. It's all preset for you. No trying to figure out how much gear lash. So really neat for beginners. Makes it really easy for pinion gear changes. All right, let me throw this thing back together. And just 3 screws, that's back together. And while I have this out, let me show you how easy it is to access the rear differential. Again, with my 2.5 millimeter driver, I'm just going to remove 3 screws on the bottom. Now I should be able to access the rear diff. Pop up my case, pull this module out, a little twist, and there it is. The whole rear differential in this little module setup. How neat is that? And as you can see, there's those telescoping drive shafts that I told you about. There's that large ring gear on the differential. Look how big that thing is. Very neat little setup and really easy to pull out and do any maintenance you need to do. All right, let me throw this back together. All right, and that was probably a minute and a half to throw all of that back together. How cool is that? All right, now let me show you how easy it is to take out the power module here with the receiver, the servo, and the ESC all in one. Basically, all I got to do is use a 2.0 millimeter hex driver and remove 5 screws. Okay, I've got my 5 screws out. Now I should be able to lift this out. I just got to pull these bolt plugs out from underneath a little clip. There it is. Everything all in one little compact unit right there. Now you could go and blow off and clean out your chassis if necessary, or if you have to do some sort of maintenance here. Really easy to get to. Your receivers inside this box here. Obviously there's your speed controller, your servo. There is the servo saver on the servo. And then what's also really neat, and I mean, again, the details here from ARRMA. Let's say you go and replace your servo. It gives you just a little friendly note right here that says, make sure you set your neutral on your radio, center your servo before you put everything together. Just kind of neat how they go into all these little details. All right, now let me throw this back in. And just like that, within a few minutes, it's all back together. I can't believe how easy this truck is to work on. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun too, and the design on it, pretty neat stuff going on in this machine. Now all that's left is to charge up some batteries and head off to the BMX track. This test is going to be a blast. You don't want to miss part 3.